Have you ever felt like your voice doesn't belong? Like the way you speak, sing, or express yourself just doesn't fit in? What if I told you that the most famous singer in the world once felt exactly the same? Today we'll improve your English through the powerful story of Elvis Presley. Just give me a few minutes and I promise you won't forget it. Because this story is not just about music or fame. It's about being different and being brave enough to stay that way. It's about a poor boy with no money, no connections, and no chance, who sang in a way America wasn't ready to hear. Because Elvis didn't sing like a white boy. He sang like the people America tried to silence. He sang like the streets, like the churches, like the blues. And some people hated him for that. They said he's breaking the rules. But Elvis didn't care. Because he wasn't trying to follow the rules. He was trying to follow his soul. So sit back, open your heart, and feel every word. This is not just a story about the king of rock and roll. This is a story about your voice, and how sometimes the world will fight hardest against the sound that needs to be heard the most. Part 1. A boy with no future. He was born in a tiny house with no electricity. Tupelo, Mississippi, 233. A poor southern town. A hard time in America. Elvis Aaron Presley came into the world on a cold January day. He had a twin brother, but the twin died at birth. Elvis survived. Alone, quiet, small. His father worked odd jobs. His mother, Gladys, loved him deeply. She called him my only sunshine. They didn't have money, but they had a radio. Elvis listened to everything: country, blues, gospel. But the sounds that moved his heart the most were not on the white stations. They came from black churches, from open windows, from back porches in the heat of summer. He would walk past the little black churches in Tupelo and just listen. He didn't understand the words, but he felt the fire. Was this allowed? A white boy listening to black gospel. Part 2. A white boy with a black voice. At age 11, Elvis got his first guitar. He didn't play well. He didn't care. He sang with passion, loud, full of soul. At school, other kids laughed at him. They said, "Why do you sing like that?" They told him, "You sound strange." He sang anyway. At 13, his family moved to Memphis, Tennessee. A bigger city, new life. There Elvis found Beale Street. And Beale Street changed everything. Beale Street was the heart of black music in Memphis blues, rhythm, and soul. Elvis stood outside the clubs and listened. He watched the musicians play. He loved B.B. King, Arthur Crudup, and Sister Rosetta Tharpe. He copied the rhythms, the voice, the feeling. He was a poor white boy, but his soul was learning to sing like the blues. One day a teacher asked, "Why do you sing those songs?" He didn't answer. He didn't have to. Part 3. The night that changed music forever. Elvis worked as a truck driver. He earned just enough to survive. But he had a dream. In 1953, he walked into Sun's studio in Memphis. He wanted to record a song just for his mother. That's all. He paid $4 and sang a slow ballad. Nothing happened. 1 year later, he came back. The producer, Sam Phillips, wasn't impressed. Elvis sang softly. No fire. But then, during a break, Elvis started fooling around with his guitar. He sang a fast, wild version of "That's All Right." He jumped. He laughed. He played like he was on fire. Sam Phillips ran into the room. "Do that again." Elvis blinked. "What?" "That sound, that feeling. Do it again." They recorded the song, and that's when the world changed. Part 4. Who is this voice? The song hit the radio the next night. People were confused. Some called the station and asked, "Who is this black singer?" Others asked, "What is this music?" When they learned he was white, many were shocked. How can a white boy sound like that? It was rock and roll, but it was also blues, country, and gospel, all mixed together. No one had ever heard anything like it. Elvis was invited to perform on stage. He moved his body while singing. He shook his legs. He danced with energy and freedom. And the crowd went wild. Girls screamed. Boys tried to copy his style. But the newspapers were angry. They said he moves like a criminal. They called him vulgar. One said he is corrupting the youth. But Elvis didn't stop. He had waited his whole life to be heard. Part 5, the rebel America didn't know what to do with. By 1956, Elvis Presley was everywhere. TV, radio, magazines. His songs were at the top of the charts. He was rich now, famous. But the backlash grew stronger. Some TV stations refused to show his full body on screen. They only showed him from the waist up, because of the way he danced. They called it unacceptable. But Elvis said, "I don't do anything dirty. I just feel the music." In the South, where racism was still strong, some people were furious. A white boy singing black music, dancing like that. But Elvis never denied where his sound came from. He often said the colored folks been singing it and playing it just like I'm doing now. I got it from them. He loved black music. He respected it. But not everyone gave him love back. Some accused him of stealing. Others said he was helping bringing black music into the white world. The truth, Elvis lived in the middle. Not black, not fully white. Something in between. Something new, something dangerous. Part 6, Singing Through the Storm. Elvis became the king of rock and roll. But inside, he was still just a boy from Tupelo. He still loved gospel music the most. He still sang from the heart. He met B.B. King and told him, "I learned so much from you." B.B. King said he was real. He wasn't faking it. Little Richard said Elvis opened the door for us. He didn't steal, he shared. Elvis recorded songs by black artists, but he always gave credit. He knew where the music came from. But even as he rose, America was burning. Segregation, hate, violence. Music couldn't fix it all. But music could break walls. Elvis kept singing, and young people kept listening. Part 7, The Price of Fame. Fame is loud, but loneliness is quiet. In the 1960s, Elvis's star began to fade. New artists were rising. Critics said he was finished. But then came the '68 comeback special. A black leather suit, a small stage, a fire in his voice. He sang like his life depended on it. He sang like he was still that boy in Memphis. And the world watched in silence. Then roared. He was back. Older, stronger, braver. Part 8. The Final Years. Elvis bought a mansion Graceland. But even inside the walls he felt trapped. He was tired. He had money. He had fans. But something was missing. He missed his mother, who died when he was young. He missed the simple joy of music. He began taking pills to sleep, pills to wake up, pills to perform. The fire inside him started to fade. And on August 16, 1977, Elvis Presley died. He was just 42 years old. Part 9. The Voice Lives On. But Elvis never really left. His voice is still alive in every rock song. His courage is still alive in every artist who dares to be different. His legacy is complex. He was loved and hated. He was praised and blamed. He was caught between two worlds, black and white, holy and wild, rich and poor. But maybe that's why we remember him. Because Elvis didn't belong anywhere. And yet, he made the world listen. Reflection. Elvis Presley didn't just break rules. He broke silence. He broke fear. He broke the walls between people with nothing but his voice. He didn't do it perfectly, but he did it with fire. So my amazing learners, maybe your voice doesn't fit in. Maybe they say you're too different, too much, too strange. Good, because maybe you were born to break the rules too. And just like Elvis, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to sing like you mean it. What about you? What is your voice? And are you brave enough to let the world hear it? This is Learn English with Stories 365. And we believe your voice matters. If this story inspired you, helped you practice English, or made you feel something deep, subscribe now. Because every day we tell stories of pain, power, and purpose to help you learn English and to remind you the best is yet to come.